Welcome back to our revisiting of Final Fantasy X. Our heroes find themselves heading down the Mien High Road and encountering a high number of random encounters. Seriously, I can't take like 5 steps without hitting a battle. And Jesus Christ, I just started this part and here's bizarre outfit number 3. So this is Lucille, and she mentions that there's a fiend running around eating chocobos, which is basically video game code for you're going to have to do something about that within the next 10 minutes. Well, on the way, Yuna finally decides it's time to explain to Titus what the goal of her pilgrimage is.
But Yuna, how are you supposed to beat something big like that?
The final summoning. It's the only way to defeat sin. The only way. With it, we can call the final Aeon. That's the goal of the pilgrimage. The faith of the final summoning lies waiting in the far north to greet summoners that complete their pilgrimage. At the world's edge in Xanarkand.
And this part always made me wonder something. You know how in like Pokemon you can't make your way into the final area of the Pokemon League unless you have all of the badges? Those guard guys won't let you through unless they check for the badges? Well, here when Yuna reaches Xanarkand, there's nothing to check to see if she got all of the Aeons. In fact, there's 5 hidden ones that you can get part of side quests. So do you really need all of the Aeons or just some of them? No one's checking on your progress as you make your way through the pilgrimage, and there's no thing in Xanarkand that checks on it at the end to see which ones you have, nor is there a set number that you need in order to enter. I get that you might need a strong party of Aeons to apparently obtain the final Aeon, but what if your Guardians are more than capable of handling it? I mean, just get your crew together, bring your long swords, staffs, and blitzballs, head off to Xanarkand, kick Sin's ass, and be back in time for morning tea or second breakfast. The next morning, the party comes across the Chocobo Eater, and I totally kicked its ass, and then I totally got to ride a Chocobo for free. Ignore the footage you're seeing on the screen, because I totally didn't accidentally fall off the ledge and lose to the Chocobo Eater, which meant I had to walk the rest of the way and not ride a Chocobo. Again, ignore the footage. So anyway, after traveling down the road for a while, we reach a roadblock set up by the Crusaders. Luzu and Gata are forming some kind of a plan to take out Sin, and they won't let me pass. You can donate money to the operation, though I'm not sure what the hell it affects. I think the one time I did this, I got like a weapon for donating a certain number of gil, but that can't be all this does, right? Thankfully, or unfortunately, depending on your viewpoint, Seymour and his posse show up, and since he's clearly got the hots for Yuna, he pulls a few strings, and now we can pass. As we venture forward, we see that the Crusaders are teaming up with the Al Bhed to use Machina to defeat Sin permanently. However, the Maesters of Yevon forbid Machina because apparently years ago there was a war with Machina and that somehow led to Sin's appearance, and oh boy is that a story that the game never truly feels like delving into. I'm going to save that full explanation for later since it connects better to the inconsistencies of the plot at that point, so we're just going to have to wait a little bit. The little contradiction starts to annoy Waka, who thinks Seymour should probably stop the whole thing from going through. And if it already wasn't as clear as daylight that Seymour was evil, seriously, just listen to his theme music that I've got playing in the background right now, he responds to Waka with this gem of a line.
Isn't this operation against the teachings of Yevon? Aren't you gonna stop them?
It's true. I should.
But using Machina, that's bad, isn't it?
Pretend you didn't see them.
Beg your pardon, but that's not something a maester should say.
Then pretend I didn't say it.
And even Titus, as dense as he is, figures that Seymour is nuts, though he probably only thinks that since it's clear that Seymour likes Yuna, and Titus is so jelly right now. So we get to learn more about the operation, which apparently involves the Crusaders using Sin Spawn, which are the monsters that fall off of Sin's body. The goal is to lure Sin into the cove and have the Al Bhed blast him with a giant laser gun. We also meet one of the other Maesters of Yevon, Wen Keenock, who's a complete dick. He completely acknowledges to Auron that the operation will fail, yet he has no concern about letting it proceed. Hell, Smug Bastard seems almost happy knowing that it's gonna fail.
This plan won't work, you know that. We'll just let them dream a little longer.
Now, the overall plan is not terrible, but after seeing what Sin's already done to Xanarkand and Kilika, I got a sinking feeling that this isn't gonna go so well. Sin arrives as expected, but his demon spawns start acting up, and now I have to fight it. Seriously, I wasn't even supposed to be here, and now I have to help the Crusaders out with their half-baked plan. And to make matters worse, I gotta fight this thing twice, though at least the second time Seymour helps out, and he's got second level magic, which deals way more damage than any of my spells are doing at this point. Sin, as expected, completely destroys the Crusaders, though I can't feel too bad for them as they were charging towards him on chocobos. I mean, what did they think were gonna happen? Sin was just gonna ignore them and go for the big gun? Also, I should mention here that the game indirectly lets you choose whether or not Luzu or Gata survive the battle. See, Luzu tells Gata to stay at his post instead of fighting, so he won't die, but Gata, like a spoiled little brat, whines how it's so unfair and he wants to fight. So if you let Gata stay at his post, Luzu's body is found on the shore later, but if you talk to Gata and encourage him to fight, then he dies. I never liked Gata's whining about staying put when clearly Luzu was trying to save him. Even Orin tries to talk some sense into him and explains that his position of guarding the command post is still just equally as important, but he still complains, so I choose to kill him off instead. The Albed fire the giant laser and hit Sin, but unfortunately for them, Sin has his shields up and ends up throwing the blast back, wrecking the machine. So I guess Sin's shield invoked the classic strategy of I am rubber, you are glue sentiment. Naturally, our party survives, somehow. I guess we all have that immunity to the giant disintegration ray. Also, this is a great point to show the difference between Titus and Yuna and how they react to things. You see, both of them are pretty upset over Sin's destruction, but you tell me which one has the better reaction. Yuna tries to summon an Aeon even when Seymour tells her that she can't because it won't do any good, and Titus meanwhile runs into the ocean like an idiot and chases after Sin. Why couldn't this game just have Yuna be the main character? It would have made a hell of a lot more sense. Anyway, after that detour, we get back on the road like nothing happened. Also, on a side note here, Kimari finally speaks. As far as characters go, Kimari isn't so bad. He's kind of like Orin, just not as cool, and he speaks even less. But at least when he does, he's not an idiot. Titus brings up the plot hole of why Yuna can't just skip all the temples and go straight to Xanarkand, and Yuna once again says that she needs to pray to the Faith in every temple in order to get the final Aeon. To which again I say, how?
I have to pray to the Faith in every temple in order to earn the final Aeon.
That's a summoner's training.
We can't just skip all that, can we? Huh?
Like I said before, there's nothing at the end of this game to prove this accurately, and this is where the game could have made the Cloister of Trials a bit more interesting than mindless puzzles. The puzzles might not necessarily be the right word to describe what I'm doing in the temples, now is it? Instead, what if in the Cloister, Yuna has to use her current Aeon to defeat a monster, which in turn gives her something that proves she defeated it? Then when the group arrives in Xanarkand, there's like a room where you have to place all the items that you got in order to begin the final summoning. Wouldn't that have made more sense? So we arrive at Doge Temple, which has probably quite the electric bill, and while inside we meet another summoner, Isaru, who actually dresses the part and is that other character that I mentioned was voiced by Quentin Flynn in the last part. Isaru and his guardians tell Titus that summoners have been going missing in the area, which I'm sure is not going to happen to Yuna. Again. Anyway, I get to swap electric balls this time, and before long, Yuna gets her next Aeon, which is a unicorn that shoots lightning out of its head. So we're off to the next temple. Things got a bit crazy this time, but trust me, things are going to get pretty interesting in the next part. So come back next time when revisiting Final Fantasy X continues. Thanks for watching.